Ray Blevins, my co-host Jeff D. And this morning we're going to have two guests on, starting with Rodney Florence, and Earl Beach will be coming on shortly. But I always like to start off with a few announcements of Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday down at the Hot Jumble Bakery. As soon as the show's over here, we head down that way, and it's free and open to the public. And we always like meeting fellow atheists here in Austin. And come on down and we discuss the current events and what's going on around Austin. Our lecture series is the first Sunday of every month, and this Sunday, next Sunday will be March 7th, and that's at Furs at North Cross Mall. It'll be Paul Wilson, and he'll be on this show first, and then once we get done with the show, we'll head out to Furs at North Cross Mall, and that again is free and open to the public, and we're always welcoming new people out there. We have a great time. This is live, as you can see on there. We'll be taking your phone calls shortly. It's February 28th. We are coming to you live. Then one more announcement. Easter weekend, we'll be hosting the National Convention of Atheist Alliance, and we're real proud of that. They'll be coming here to Austin from all over the country. So the atheists will be invading Austin that Easter weekend there. And
thank you, Austin.
Thank you. And at this point, though, I'd like to go to Rodney here, and he has a report there about Comfort, Texas, and an announcement about a march coming up that we'd like to hear more about. So I'll just hand it over here to Rodney.
Okay. Well, my basic theme this morning is on Atheist Citizenship. These events that Ray mentioned are examples of the ways that we as a group exercise our citizenship. I think we are pretty fortunate to be here in Austin, the state capital, and we are privy to a lot of events that happen that are public nature. I'd like to start by just mentioning something that had a lot to do with getting my activist energy going. When Vice President George Bush was campaigning for president, he was at the O'Hare Airport in Illinois and participating in a press conference. And in the press corps was a reporter who happened to be atheist. And he asked Vice President Bush, what will you do to win the votes of the Americans who are atheists? And Bush replies, I guess I'm pretty weak in the atheist community. Faith in God is important to me. And the reporter then went on, surely you recognize the equal citizenship and patriotism of Americans who are atheists. And Bush's reply, no, I don't know that atheists should be considered as citizens, nor should they be considered patriots. This is one nation under God. Well, our Pledge of Allegiance may include those words, which were added in the 1950s during the McCarthy hysteria era. But there's nothing in our Constitution that says that we are under God. Then the reporter said, well, do you support as a sound constitutional principle the separation of state and church? Bush replies, yes, I support the separation of church and state. I'm just not very high on atheists. Well,
he was being honest. You can't fault him for there, but
he was, saying what he believed and what he thought. But it does show a very deep lack of understanding.
That's true.
I can't think of a single other example of a political candidate openly slamming a group like that, except maybe the homosexual community. You know, it certainly demonstrates a very, very, very serious dislike on his part. You know, because in most cases, political candidates will, you know, try to make some kinds of noises of reconciliation with any group just to get their votes. That's always struck me as amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We just come out and say that.
Continue.
Sorry.
Well, and I would just like to say to you out there who may be watching that that know that they're atheists, that think that they're atheists, wonder they might be, and atheism includes a broad spectrum of philosophies, secular humanism, skepticism, the full range. So whatever category you feel that you are in, but recognize that you do not believe in a God, a supreme being. I would like to encourage you to come out and be proud of your atheist citizenship and stand up for your rights and for your being. Now, the atheist community of Austin, in our Constitution, which is heads our bylaws, I'd like to just read that for you. I don't know, it probably has been stated before on this program, but the Atheist Community of Austin is organized as a nonprofit educational corporation to develop and support atheist community, to provide opportunities for socializing and friendship, to promote atheist viewpoints, to encourage positive atheist culture, to defend the First Amendment principle of state-church separation, and to oppose discrimination against atheists, and to work with other organizations in pursuit of common goals. And we open in an open, democratic manner without discrimination as to gender, race, age, sexual orientation, ethnic origin, nationality, or disability. Now, being a growing group, that's a pretty large mandate there. And we, as much as any of us can do who are, busy working people like everybody else, I guess what I'm saying is come on in and get involved with us and revel in your individualism and your atheism. And I guess now maybe I'll point out maybe some things that we have done in the past and in these events that are coming up.
Comfort, Texas, is that where you're going?
Yes. Those that watch regularly have seen programs on what has been happening in Comfort, Texas with the Free Thought cenotaph there, with a historical monument, everything approved by the state and by the county. But then when certain citizens in the area realized that Free Thought was also atheist, they became very alarmed, got a petition and a lot of signatures, and have put a lot of pressure on the local and county authorities there. Well, it has resulted now in this limestone, beautiful limestone boulder that was to be the cenotaph that would hold the monument marker, it appears will have to be removed. So last weekend there was a sudden call for atheists around the state who had been keeping up with this event to come say farewell to this cenotaph that at some point in the very near future is just not going to be there. So I
You brought some pictures.
brought a few photographs from that weekend. There we go. On the left is Mary Sue Osborne, one of our members. On the right is a fellow from Spring Branch, Texas. I like his T-shirt there.
Can you read it? It's hard to read from here.
Don't start the evolution without me. And he's holding a book of one of his by one of his heroes, Ingersoll.
Excellent.
And the next photo is
They're working on right now.
but it was a really wonderful gathering of people from mostly from around Central Texas, but there were people there from a large contingent of.
Isn't that Kellen there?
Yes, that's Kellen.
Von Hauser,
on
our
the,
co-chairperson.
Yeah, with the camcorder. Catherine, I was about to say Hepburn, but Faringer from San Antonio is one of the main organizers, and Julie Fisher from Pipe Creek, who is a founding member and produces a newsletter for the Central Texas Freethinkers. And
So how many people showed up that day?
I
Approximately.
would estimate 30, 40. Maybe the next photo would give a
You have a group shot coming
good
up.
head count. I actually didn't sit down and count heads there. Now after there were some readings and a song and things.
There's a group shot. Yeah.
To commemorate that cenotaph. And after that ceremony, we went just into the town of Comfort, which is a beautiful little hill country town. Has lots of antique and collectible stores, a wonderful general store, some really nice cafes and restaurants. And so we all went into the town. Well, I forgot to mention the actual name of this event was called the Great Atheist Invasion.
Yes.
Because that was the biggest fear expressed while the citizens were getting signatures on the petition. This fear of, the atheists are going to invade our town.
Never mind the fact that they founded it.
Well,
Yeah, the
truly,
atheists, the free thinkers.
a number of communities in that area were founded by freethinkers. And those that don't know, the monument is honoring the 30 or so Union sympathizers. During the Civil War. They were leaving to join the Union Army, and they were massacred by Confederates. And so that's the purpose of the monument there.
Okay, and to wrap that up, you did say that they're going to have to move it. Do they know where or when?
No, actually the historical marker will be at that spot, but now they're trying to decide what sort of structure that it will be on. And the marker is worded in such a way still as to not necessarily make a person understand or realize that those were non-believers. So it's a kind of a compromised situation.
Well, I appreciate your report there on Comfort, Texas there. And now you have an announcement here about a march coming up?
Yes, on March the 21st, on that weekend, the Lesbian and Gay Rights Lobby of Texas is sponsoring a number of events aimed at drawing attention to the bill that is being introduced for this session by Warren Chisholm and Robert Talton, two representatives. This bill would ban any possibility of gay men or lesbians adopting or fostering children, even if those children happen to be their own relatives that their parents may have left in their wills and instructions that their brother, son, sister, would become the guardians. Well, that would be prohibited by these laws. The fostering of children, which is it's in a rather desperate situation as it is. There are too many children, particularly older children, and children with disabilities.
Good.
The unadoptable children who need attention, caring, loving. They are just sort of out of luck in a lot of cases, and the homosexuality of a person is just not a threat to children.
And if they start banning for homosexuality, what they very easily start banning on religious reasons.
Yeah, basically, laws like this are almost always based on religious intolerance and lack of understanding.
Excellent point.
So on Sunday, March the 21st, there is going to be a march to the Capitol, and the Atheist community of Austin has decided to participate in that march and show our support for doing what we can to prevent that law from passing.
Well, I was going to say, we're not allowed to tell people to go down there, but we can inform them the time and the place. So what time does it start?
It gathers at 12:30 Sunday, the 21st of March, at the Municipal Auditorium.
All right.
I'm not real clear whether the march kicks off at 12:30 or, but if you're there by 12:30, you would be.
We're informing you folks about the march, so if you feel strongly about this, you're welcome to join, but we're not telling anyone to go out and do it. We're leaving that up to the viewers. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, it's fine. If I may, I would like to just read pretty much verbatim a press release that has been prepared and approved by the Atheist community of Austin. This was prepared mostly by Kellen Von Hauser, a co-chair. And it says, the Atheist community of Austin announced Monday that it strongly opposes the recent bills introduced in the state legislature by Representative Warren Chisholm and Representative Robert Talton, which aim to ban gay and lesbians from serving as foster parents or adopting children in the custody of the state. ACA co-chair Kellen Von Hauser stated that such legislation stems solely from the religious intolerance of its authors and presents a grave disservice to the children in state custody waiting for homes. The efforts of the religiously intolerant to force their views on the citizenry without regard to the deleterious effects this will have on children waiting for homes is unconscionable. How many times must it be proven that the children of homosexual parents are no different from the children of heterosexual parents? Placing children into good homes is vitally important. The sexual orientation of the people in that home is not. When the welfare of children is at stake, everyone must get involved. People like to think that outrageous legislation like this has no chance, but we have seen that this is not the case. Therefore, it is important for everyone to protest these attempts to hobble the rights of fellow citizens. Where will this intolerance lead? Today, they seek to ban gays and lesbians from adoption and foster care. Tomorrow, the rights of others who are unpopular with the radically self-righteous will be threatened. Now and always, we stand opposed to giving religion-based intolerance the force of law.
Fantastic. It
Makes me feel very proud to be part of this organization.
Thank you. I do appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else? I think
Well,
quickly. We're down to
well, sort of in the same vein, another law that is before the legislature now is another version of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Last Thursday, there was a public hearing held by the State Affairs Committee. I attended that, and Howard Thompson was a speaker being opposed to the amendment, and a representative of the American Atheists, I can't think it right offhand, his first name, his last name is Gorman.
Randall Gorman.
Randall
Yes.
Gorman spoke out against this, and I was just there observing all of this. I did fill out a card and as being someone present who was opposed. Most of the speakers were actually opposed to this.
That's good to hear.
Some were very conservative Christians. They had reasons of their own for not wanting this. It was mostly out of fear, I think, that their own religion was going to be in some way adversely affected. So, there was a whole spectrum of philosophies there represented that were opposed to this bill. Nonetheless, with all the fine presentations against this bill, the committee did vote to send it on forward. So that's something that you should watch for and study and be ready to exercise your citizenship and let your voice be heard.
Thank you. Appreciate you keeping us up to date on that, and we will try to keep our viewers up to date on the progress of that amendment, and remind people that even if you're for or against that, being a good citizen, you need to let your representatives know how you feel, and get out there and vote every election, because that's what the American system is, the best system out there, and it's only going to stay that way if we as citizens participate. So we'd like to thank Rodney for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
And at this time, we're going to be switching guests here and let Earl come on. And while we're doing that, we'll let Jeff fill us in on some of the current, up-to-date current news here.
Okay.
Don't forget to unplug here. Walk off with the microphone.
I want to thank our guest again for covering some of these news stories, because I have an awful lot this morning, and this will save me from reading several pages of it. Let's see. In the news, Baptist leader guilty of racketeering theft, aide acquitted. Clearwater, Florida, a jury found Reverend Henry Lyons, leader of one of the nation's most influential black religious denominations, guilty of racketeering and theft Saturday afternoon amid defense allegations that a juror improperly discussed the case outside the courtroom. The jury acquitted Lyons' former aide and co-defendant Bernice Edwards, who had been charged only with racketeering. Lyons remains free on bond pending sentencing, made no statement after the verdict was announced, but Grady Irvin, one of his attorneys, said, "I'm disappointed, the family is disappointed." Irvin said he expects Lyons to remain president of the National Baptist Convention until such time as there is a decision otherwise. But after the verdict, one of the candidates running for the convention presidency called on Lyons to step aside. "We have no tolerance for a convicted felon to continue as a spiritual leader of churches," said the Reverend W. Franklin Richardson of Mount Vernon, New York. We pray that Reverend Lyons will immediately release the National Baptist Convention so that it may now begin the journey of healing. I'm dumbfounded that they don't have some method for just kicking him out, and they have to call on him to step down. Lyons still faces federal trial on mail fraud, extortion, and money laundering charges. State prosecutors said Lyons and Edwards sold phony telephone membership lists to companies that sought to market cemetery products, life insurance policies, and credit cards to convention members. The companies thought they were getting the names and addresses of the denomination's touted 8.5 million members. Lyons was also convicted of taking more than $200,000 donated to rebuild churches burned in a spate of fires in the South. He now faces a prison term of up to 30 years on the racketeering count and one of the 2 theft charges. But because he has no prior record, his attorneys said he is unlikely to draw more than 2 to 3 years. Prosecutors said Lyons spent the money on mistresses and a lifestyle that included Mercedes-Benzes, furs, diamond jewelry, and expensive real estate. Lyons came to the attention of authorities after his wife, Deborah, set fire to a $700,000 house Lyons and Edwards, that's his co-defendant,
Right.
Had bought together in St. Petersburg in July 1997. Lyons' wife told authorities at the time that she believed her husband and Edwards were having an affair. So it just goes on and on and on. A little tidbit for those of you who complain that we always are focusing on Christians on this show. Gardner, Montana, witnessing a ritual unseen for a century. 100 members of American Indian tribes gathered in Gardner on Saturday on a pilgrimage, seeking an end to the killing of bison that wander out of Yellowstone National Park. Those who made the pilgrimage are bearing witness to the sacred relationship between the buffalo and Indians, said Joseph Chasing Horse, a traditional Lakota Sioux leader who helped organize the event. For many Indians, eating the flesh of bison is comparable in religious significance to Holy Communion among Christians, who symbolically eat the flesh and drink the blood of Christ, Chasing Horse said. Huh? For Montana cattle ranchers, however, it's a matter of killing animals they fear will carry disease to their herds. The buffalo, or American bison, was a life-giver to the Plains Indians, providing meat, skin, and bones that could be shaped into implements. Now, they've just compared the Indian practice of eating bison to the significance of the Holy Communion. Are they suggesting that Christ provided meat, skins, and bones to his followers? That's news to me. In the Lakota language, the buffalo is Tatanka Oyate, which means he who owns us, indicative of the animal's central importance to the culture of the tribes. And in my opinion, it's exactly as degrading as the Christian attitude that their God owns them. In a 2-hour ceremony Saturday on a windswept muddy field just inside a massive stone arch that marks the entrance to the country's oldest national park, they gathered, prayed, and sang. Long ago, the buffalo gave his blood for us. Today, we give our blood for him, Chasing Horse told the crowd. Then, Gary Silk, a Lakota activist from South Dakota, removed his shirt. Others thrust sharp sticks through his skin in 2 places just below the shoulder blades. The sticks were left in place, a rope was attached to each, and a ceremonial buffalo skull was tied to the other end of each rope. Silk then danced slow circles around the gathering of about 250 Indians and white spectators as blood trickled down his back from the 2 wounds. Then another man sat on the skulls. Silk took hold of a horse's tail, and the horse pulled him away from the skulls, tearing the sticks free from Silk's flesh. And to think that Europeans, when they arrived in this country, mistook these people for savages. The ritual has not been performed for over 100 years, Chasing Horse said. Until Saturday, it has never been seen by white people. Anyway, it goes on. They're basing their objection to the treatment of the buffalo on their myths and prophecies once again, and not on any kind of actual concern about practical value of keeping buffalo around, which might be a perfectly valid position to take, but.
I don't want to be rude. Is that Joe Zemecki? Because if it is, I want to get him.
For Joe?
Yeah, because he's on long distance. Oh, he's on long. Oh, does he? Because he's on long distance. I didn't want to be rude if he's been on. Okay, I'm sorry, Jeff. Okay.
Okay. More crazy Indians in the news. Scientists win the right to plumb the ancestry of Kennewick Man. Scientists have embarked on an ancestral quest in examining Kennewick Man, one of North America's oldest skeletons, found along the Columbia River nearly 3 years ago. The nearly complete 9,300-year-old skeleton is considered the oldest and most complete specimen of human remains found in the Northwest. It was found in July 1996, containing all major bones except for the sternum, dispersed over a 300-square-yard area in Kennewick's Columbia Park. A 6-member team of anthropologists and archaeologists began their work Thursday. Their first focus is to determine whether the bones are of Indian origin, as defined by federal law, said team leader Francis McManaman, chief archaeologist for the National Park Service. If they are, the Department of the Interior will decide if there is a modern tribe to which the remains ought to be given. The Army Corps of Engineers, which took custody of the bones from the Benton County Sheriff's Office, had planned to turn them over to tribal representatives. 5 Northwest tribes have claimed the remains as an ancestor and wish to bury them. But scientists later sued in federal court for the right to study Kennewick Man because he reportedly has non-Indian features, and apparently they have won that suit. I can't imagine why this is even an issue. This skeleton is clearly of immense scientific significance, and if you give a damn about the ancient history of North America, explain to me what possible good it could do for any tribe to stick these bones back in the ground. Okay, so do we want to cut in for Joe?
Yeah, just remind everyone, we are live February 28th. We got a lot going on, so we'll put you on hold, but we will get to the callers eventually because Earl got a bunch of great stuff here, and so. But I do want to go to Joe quickly. Joe?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
No, I wanted to wait and listen to y'all talk for a while.
Well, we'll put you back on hold if you really want.
Yeah, well, you don't have to jump right onto me as soon as I get on there. I told her to tell y'all, or just to hang off on telling y'all for a while, but, you know.
And we're worried about your long-distance charges, Joe.
No big deal.
Okay, well, we'll put you back on hold when you're done then.
Okay, just let me know.
All right, go ahead.
See you.
Oh. I was going to let you go first and then put you on hold.
Yeah, then you can hang and listen.
And then you can hang up anytime you're ready.
Yeah, okay, but I did have a few things to go over.
Okay, quickly.
Oh, now? Oh, okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Whatever. I wish I could be at y'all's convention this year in April.
Yes, that's going to be great.
Yeah, I understand it's coming along great, and but I do have a convention up here I'm going to be going to instead, and I wanted to brag for a minute, if you allow me. American Atheist is going to have James Randi at our convention up here.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we scored. Okay.
Big score, yes.
There was another person here. Pamela Summers was one of the constitutional attorneys involved in the case involving Fob James in Roy Moore's courtroom, and that involved the Ten Commandments display there in the courtroom. And also for old members who might remember, William Boyd Francis gave an impression of Robert Ingersoll several years ago at a convention. He's going to be coming back to us and doing that. And Bill Baird's also going to be there. And but I also had a little story here from the Associated Press. Still with me?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's from White Plains, New York. Satanism lawsuit is going on there, and there are some very important issues taking place. Religious liberty, personal privacy, public education. And at the outset of a federal trial in which 3 Catholic families are attacking a school district, both the First Amendment and the First Amendment were invoked. But then the Tooth Fairy was mentioned. A psychic who had lectured on creativity at the school said she was also a telepath. A yogi who taught stress reduction said he was also a numerologist. And interspecies communication was mentioned. And the exasperated judge wanted to know just one thing. Can a psychic tell when this case will finish? The case, which resumes Monday, is perhaps an extreme example of the backlash against a nationwide trend that has broadened course offerings away from the basics of reading and math. The dispute began in 1995 when kids in the Bedford Central School District, they began playing a strategy game called Magic the Gathering.
Right.
The cards bear images ranging from innocent fairies to a lurid depiction of a woman about to be sacrificed. And some parents got very upset at the darker aspects of the game. So a mother was quoted here saying, "It's much worse than witchcraft." She's also a member of the Northeast Ritual Crime Investigators Association. And I understand most of them are Christians. When some of the children formed a magic club, they met in a classroom. Parents demanded that the schools end all support of the game. The superintendent halted play of the game for 30 days until mental health experts assured him the game posed no danger.
Excellent.
Oh man, well this goes on. Well, this is another little episode in the little trend that's going on these days. They're actually upset at the New Age spirituality and the Earth-centered ideas like Earth Day. The parents were upset about that being celebrated in school. So who knows? It's all over the place. Well, I guess you can put me on hold now then.
I appreciate that, and yeah, and we'll put you on hold, and then you stay on as long as you want, and just hang up anytime.
Cool. I just love the show, and thanks a lot for letting me talk then.
Have a great week.
All right, you too.
All right.
Good grief.
Yes, that is. I guess that the game Magic is quite popular, and I see it as totally harmless myself.
People who watch the show know that I am a hardline rationalist, and I have no truck with any claims of the supernatural or psychic powers whatsoever. But I've played that game, and it's a harmless card game.
Yes.
It just happens to, it has a fantastical fictional elements in it, and apparently that's what they're freaking out over. I suppose when Lord of the Rings comes out, when the film version of that comes out in a couple of years, there'll be armies of people protesting that because it happens to depict magic happening. It's fiction, folks. It's entertainment.
Okay, just remind everyone, this is February 28th. We do appreciate all your calls. Please stay on hold, because I'd like to go to Earl now.
Please.
Yes. Welcome to the show, Earl Beach. He's been on before, and we had a great response from everybody. Liked what you did last time.
Oh,
so,
good.
And I see you got some stuff written up here. So
I do, and I think I've got too much for the stuff remaining, and I'll have to come back. And we've been keeping Kevin on hold for quite a while, so why don't we talk to Kevin now?
Oh, sure. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Join the club there, Earl.
Kevin?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good morning.
I guess I want a little clarification. I'm not going to go into a long story, but I just want to real brief you and then ask a question. When I was in college and I was a history major, I kind of got away from my Christian upbringing, and I guess I could say that I'm an agnostic. I will not say, well, there's no creator, or absolutely, I have to have the security blanket of any established religion. I really kind of despise people that do that and have a real problem with, especially Christianity, and for many reasons that I don't even want to go into. But at any rate, I don't know. I just have a problem with those that would go the opposite spectrum and say, hey, there's absolutely nothing there. There's no creator. I just feel like we really don't know. We don't have enough upstairs to know, and I don't understand. I don't understand either side. I understand the person that says, hey, look, you look out in space and you don't really know how it all happened, and we don't have the proof to know what happened. And I'll leave it at that.
My best analogy to that is, I can't prove that the sun's coming up tomorrow, but I'm quite convinced that it's coming up tomorrow. Can you prove the sun's coming up tomorrow?
I don't know if I can prove that. No.
But
well, I mean, I could say from past experience that yes, it is coming up tomorrow.
But all the evidence that I have has convinced me that there is no God, and I'm quite comfortable with that. And that I think that adds to my everyday experience. It gives me a knowledge base for me to accept what's going on in the world and the events that happen and phenomena that occur every day. So,
were all you guys raised Christian or what? All three of you? How?
I was.
I was baptized in the Methodist Church.
Yeah, me too. Well, I just wanted to, does anybody else have a point on that subject?
Sure.
I'll be happy to respond.
Jeff has. Yeah, go right ahead, Jeff.
Okay, I look at it like this. You cannot prove that God does exist or that he doesn't.
Right.
Likewise, you can't prove that there is a technologically advanced civilization living in the core of Mars, nor can you prove that there isn't.
Sure.
Certainly not within the bounds of our current abilities. But given that you cannot prove either one of those claims, what is the smart thing to assume? And unless you want to force people to seriously consider every single unprovable claim and give it serious credibility just because it's been claimed, the default position has to be to refrain from belief in things for which there is no evidence. And so that's my position on God.
Right.
I refrain from belief. Now, there's a whole issue here of dictionary definitions of atheism, and this is something that most self-professed atheists are fighting all the time.
Right.
Christians have defined us as people who reject God because they're operating from an assumption that everybody knows that God exists, and to say that he doesn't means you're denying something that you really know. Well, that's not the case. Atheists are merely people that do not happen to believe.
Right.
They do not necessarily have to go to the length of positively asserting that there is no God.
So
Now,
then I would be more under the atheist umbrella
Yeah.
as an agnostic.
Yeah. Now there are atheists who will specifically deny certain definitions of God, because there are definitions of God that are inherently self-contradictory, right? But that's on the basis of of a specific, difficult to even comprehend definition.
Right.
Right? They'll say a thing like that can't exist because that makes no sense. But if you define God in a very, very loose, general, vague sort of way, well, of course, atheists are also going to say, nope, can't prove that such a thing doesn't exist, but why should I believe in it?
Right.
And then Earl, would you like?
Yeah, Britain's most famous atheist of the last century, Charles Bradlaugh, defined his atheism as just show me a God definition that makes sense to me.
Right.
Everyone's God notion that he heard just made no sense.
Well, you know, there's a God definition out there that made some sense to me. I don't know if I'd claim to be a deist or anything, but, you know, the forefathers of the country, most of them weren't Christians, and the Christians, I'll say they all are, but they're not, or they weren't. But a lot of them were deists, and they believed in a distant observer and in natural law, and they made up the rules around that. It was very general that the Creator created and let things, you know, happen. And the Creator is all I can define. What created? You might say the Creator is the Big Bang Theory. I would say it might have a spirit that could relate to human beings. I don't know. But I'll leave it at that.
It might, but then you'd have to explain that too.
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't
But
see how
I guess my point is, why does
I
it
understand
have
what
to
you're
be
saying, but I don't see
explained?
the point to starting down the path of believing in things like that. Where does it get you?
I don't know. Where does it get where you guys are? Where does it get Christians to spend their life under the security blanket of religion all their life, and to, you know, then all of a sudden at the end of their life they find themselves in turmoil because their spirituality is shaken for whatever reason, and you know what is it? How does any of our beliefs get us anywhere?
Well,
you know,
if you dispense with belief in things that you can't prove because there's absolutely no evidence of them and they don't affect us in any way whatsoever, it gives you the ability to build on your current knowledge without wasting a lot of time on things that are a waste of time.
right?
All right.
That's my opinion.
Kevin, I would like to invite you down to the bagel shop every Sunday. Atheist Community of Austin meets at the Hot Jumbo Bakery down on West 5th and Lavaca, and you can come down and meet other atheists and maybe get some other viewpoints on that.
Well, thanks for your invitation.
All right. You have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
It's up to you, Earl.
Well, let's talk to Dave since he's
Okay.
been waiting to.
Okay.
Maybe we'll
Good
get a
morning,
break in
Dave.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hey, I want to
Fantastic.
say hi to Jeff. You recognize my voice? I'm Dave, composer.
Oh, hey,
Composer.
How's it
How you
going, guy,
doing?
man? Man, I wanted to vouch for Jeff. A lot of people might think atheists are cold and no fun to be around, but Jeff is very pleasant to be around, and he's got a great personality and very wise and whatnot. So,
Very wise, yes.
Yeah, good point. Interesting thing. Yeah, like what benefit could be gained from believing a certain thing? I'm not even sure what belief or what thing. All I know is conquering the fear of death can make people less manipulatable. You know, it's hard to rough trot over people and take their freedom away when they're not scared of dying.
Good point.
So a wise way to lose the fear of death, maybe investigating all these so-called out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences and logging them and cataloging them. Because even if there is some existence, not necessarily our physical, our consciousness even, just some sort of energy, existence of some sort, it still wouldn't conflict with the laws of nature, There could be some quantum physics stuff in there. Who knows? The jury's still out for me on a lot of that stuff. I suspect there's more to life than just, straight science and whatnot. I think all the questions are not answered. But it seems that's one of the keys in society, man, is trying to conquer that fear of death. And I know some people that have, died on operating tables, and I'm not sure if they were having a inner brain experience or an outer body experience, but they are not afraid to die. You can put a gun to their head and tell them to do something. They'll tell you to buzz off. They'll say, go for it, Anyway, perhaps you can talk about some of that stuff a little.
All right. Unfortunately, I know we're all going to die, so I wouldn't consider myself as having a fear of death. I'd hope I go quietly and painlessly, but there's no guarantee on that.
Yeah.
The way I respond to that is I support medical research to defeat the process of aging and built-in obsolescence of human beings after about 120 years. You know,
Cool.
yeah, that will solve the problem. If we manage to re-engineer human bodies so that we don't grow old and die, then it's not an issue.
Until we're ready, yeah.
Well, sure.
Something like that. Very cool.
All right.
Well, I'm going to let you go. Hey, Jeff, I'll see you in a month. I'm going to Germany and then touring with our Gigasampler everywhere.
Cool.
We'll see you later.
Have a good time.
All right.
Say hi to the fat man.
I'll do it. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. All right. Back to you, Earl.
Oh, back to me. Well, I was going to talk about Thessalonians because we had a speaker last month, a caller, that I challenged to show me a book of the Bible that had both a salvation plan that he and I memorized in our church youth and threat of hell. And he immediately shot back 2 Thessalonians. I recognized no verse from that. I, challenged him on that, and he wouldn't talk about it. He talked about something else. So I had a pretty good workup on the 2 Thessalonians, but I think it's too much for the time we have remaining. So maybe I can just come up with a few miscellaneous anecdotes on various things we've talked about.
That'd be
or
great.
maybe you want to look for something in...
Yes. We did bring the Bible CD.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's see. I'll give you your pick. Jeff read something about the Baptists trying to get rid of somebody and how it's hard to do. There's a biblical instruction to get rid of those that don't act the way you're supposed to. It's a famous phrase I remember from sermons. It's, by their works ye shall know them. Think it'd be possible for you to find that in there?
I think so.
We could read it in context. It kind of, they're supposed to be able to take care of that sort of thing. It's in the Bible that they will, but it seems it never works, and they always have to split up into smaller and smaller groups. It's the people choose to leave instead of being thrown out, and they end up thinking everyone else is wrong and only their little group is right.
By their works.
You shall know them. It's the King James language, which
I think I can find it with just those 3 words. By their works.
works and know, or something like that. Yeah, I know it's early on in Matthew, so if you could...
It's going through. It's still searching. It hasn't got to the New Testament yet. Yeah, now it's in the New Testament, and it didn't find that in that particular sequence. I must put...
well, let's pop up and see what translation we're in.
Are we taking another call or do something?
You want to, or...
However you want to do it, I can...
that might take a little while, so
Well.
let's not let the show get bogged down.
Okay. And we've got Howard waiting, so you want to push the buttons? Jeff?
Sure.
I don't know how.
Okay.
Oh.
Howard.
I'm new here.
He's the only one that knows. He's in control, right? Yes.
Howard?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I got a quick question.
Sure.
Last week, y'all mentioned something about, I think it was chimpanzees having 98% DNA of humans.
Yep.
Okay, I've heard something. I just wanted to...
No.
Hey,
One.
cool. I just wanted to check with you guys.
Yes.
I've heard something about the fact that that's the case with most animals. That
No.
Like other animals, say horses or pigs or whatever, also have high 90% the same DNA. I wonder if you heard that or if that's true or not.
No, that couldn't be true. Could I jump on this? Because
Sure.
I took anthropology, and they do comparisons with all kinds of other apes and other kinds of monkeys, and they're very similar to chimpanzees. However, I think, like say, a human compared to a rhesus monkey is like only 70%. And a rhesus monkey is far closer to a human than a horse or a pig.
Do you happen to know the percentage match between humans and horses and pigs? For some
No,
reason,
I
horses and
wouldn't,
pigs are
but-
popular in the show.
It has to be lower. That would be...
Yeah. Well, look, interesting question. We'll look into it.
Okay, great. Yeah,
We'll mention something about that next show.
I don't
We'll make a
remember
note.
where I heard it, but thanks.
Oh, here
Well,
we go.
it sounded like...
We have a... Thank you.
We have some information on this. Aha.
Ah.
Is that it? Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay, cool.
Percentages
Oh,
right
this is
here.
just apes.
No.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it's just
Well,
monkeys. It doesn't
see,
get
that's
into...
what I'm talking about. You can't compare it with all the
But-
animals on the earth.
But we see we're all the way down to 80-some%.
Yeah, there is a chart. Do you want to zoom in on this? We'll at least show this, and then next show we'll dig up comparisons between humans and things other than monkeys. But it's a chart here, and there's humans at the top, and we get chimps, gibbons, rhesus monkeys, vervet monkeys, capuchin monkeys, and galagos. And as you see, these bars represent the percentage of similar DNA. And it gets lower and lower and lower the more you diverge from humans and get into little tiny monkeys with tails and giant ears and big round eyes. So that's something. But we'll look into the horses and pigs thing for you.
Because
Okay, great.
Because you say horses and pigs, that's exactly what the caller last week was trying to say. That's
Right.
probably where you heard it, was from the caller himself.
Yeah. No, that's where the subject came up.
You have any other questions?
No, thanks a lot.
All right. You have a great day.
All right, bye.
We got a bunch of callers here. Tamba. Good morning, Tamba.
Good morning. I just have a question.
Sure.
What is your belief as far as when you die? Do you believe that you have a soul, and that when you die, that soul or that spirit goes somewhere?
No, I pretty much assumed that you would take that as a no, being an atheist, that we do not believe in a soul, a soul or...
This is the first time I've seen this show, and I'm just kind of surprised by it. And I was raised up, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and my father was a Baptist.
Right.
And so I started going to all these different churches trying to find out what was going on, and I just got more and more confused. This is the first time I've seen this show, so...
Oh, I didn't mean to be insulting or anything else, but so you believe in a soul then, I take it?
Well, I do believe that it's possible that you can't have a separate force inside of your body other than your body. There's been a lot of stuff about out-of-body experiences and, things like that. And I'm just really basically just confused and looking for information.
Well, here, rationalists are going to tell you that human consciousness is a product of the physical processes of our brains, and that when our brains stop working, what we call human consciousness stops going on. It stops happening. And there are simply no examples of consciousnesses existing apart from some kind of physical processor. Essentially, our brains are very, 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 very complicated, very fast computers, and you can't run a computer program without having some kind of computer to run it on.
Right.
So
do you
that's
believe
our understanding of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you believe while someone is still alive that they can use that processor, as you call it, for things like ESP and things like that?
I know of no reputable scientific studies that support that claim.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to get some more information from you. And thank you for your time.
Thanks. You have a great day.
Bye.
I was doing a search for Works, and Works is scattered all through there, and so I repeat that verse again, and I'll try to narrow down the search a little bit.
Well, the phrase was, by their works ye shall know them. It was also talking about separating the wolves from the sheep, the believers of the sheep, and those that pretend to be believers that aren't, are wolves. Matthew 20? I thought it was earlier in Matthew than that.
I did a
Oh,
search
there
for
you go. Hey,
Matthew
then why don't I
17.
just flip the pages and read it real quick?
Okay.
We've got a hard copy.
Yeah. I looked around Matthew 6, and I think I gave up at that point. So then you will know them by their fruits. Not every... Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, that wasn't quite it, was it?
You are not right.
Oh, well. I'll find it and bring it back another day. That's the problem about trying to remember all the petty details there.
Well, let's see what James has to say then. Good morning, James.
Good morning. The Anti-Aging, you can pick up a really good book off Victory Drive at the Victory Medical Center. It's a book that talks about whether aging is a disease or if it's a natural process. If it can be stopped or, but it's directly related to hormones.
What was the name of that book again?
Well, I have a copy. I'm trying to remember the name. It's in my car, but there's a doctor there, and all you got to do is walk in, and they'll give you the name of the doctor, and he can give you a book on it.
All right. Well, I mean, aging is certainly a natural process. It's not like you catch it from other human beings. It's not a disease in that sense. But that does not necessarily mean that that it's a good thing to happen to individual human beings, or that it is impossible to address that and change it.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's going to be. You're going to like the book a lot.
Okay.
Another question.
Sure.
Oh, what do you want to say? Want to say something?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay,
I thought you said you had a question.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you. You know, with me, I got to have something to humble myself with.
Humble?
My ego. Yeah, my ego can. At least if I don't have something to humble, I'm not saying it can be God or something like that. Maybe it could be a martial arts instructor who kicks your ass over the weekend or something. But you know what I'm saying? I need something that would humble me instead of just, because
you don't think, excuse me, you don't think that this universe that is billions and billions of light years across, that we're a little insignificant speck on this rock floating around this star is not humbling enough?
Okay. That's good. I didn't think of it that way, but
I also,
just my ego is what gets me in trouble. I like to get, it makes me a nicer person if I, like a Marine is full of ego, and I just try to watch that.
He's a Marine.
Yeah. Taught to kill,
Yeah.
And they're better, they're better than civilians and stuff. But, it's just the ego that's always got me in trouble. It's the ego that's always stuck my foot in my mouth, And, it's just, I just wanted to ask you guys what humbles me.
Well, I just told you, but the other side of that coin there is one problem I always found with religion is the vanity of religion. They argue the cosmological evidence that the fact that we are here, that they're the first cause must have brought. Oh, I thought I was doing something wrong there. And that if we take the cause and go back and back and back, that there would be a first cause. And then you continue that argument, then you're saying that everything that happened beforehand is that we are the reason for everything that happened beforehand. And I find that total vanity on religious part there myself. And I stumbled all over my words. I'm watching everybody else over here. I don't know if I got my point across.
Yeah, that there's got to be a reason for you being here. God put you here for a reason, that kind of thing. That is rather vain, I think. And look at, what Galileo went through for saying the Earth wasn't the center of the universe. He was forced to recant and still imprisoned by Christians for the rest of his life. And there is a lot of vanity in that.
Yeah, definitely got to be watched. Factions.
And you had a point about humbling, or what?
Well, yeah, I was going to read one of my citations that I was going to do in my big prepared thing that I'm postponing for another day, from Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians 2:18-20. This is Paul saying, "We decided to go to you, I, Paul, not only once but more than once, yet Satan thwarted us. For what is our hope or joy or crown to boast of in the presence of our Lord Jesus at his coming, if not you yourselves, for you are our glory and joy." Now, the opening music of the show, we had Dan Barker singing that it was a Christian notion that pride goeth before a fall, but that we as non-believers didn't have that pride and thus didn't fall for so much, which was a cute little pun. But here's Paul. Apparently for him, this pride thing didn't apply. He could be very boastful. So, yeah, our last speaker and her notion of, don't you think you've got to be something? Something of you survives after death? Well, that's a rather self-centric notion, too. I mean, there wasn't anything of me before I was born that I can recall. Why should I expect there to be in the future as well?
So, did you have a point?
I guess, yeah, we all address this question different ways. For me, I try to keep in mind that I am not omniscient, and therefore it is entirely possible for anything that I say to be wrong. And rather than just shutting up and saying nothing, I restrict myself to saying only things that it really appears, all the evidence really appears to support what I'm saying. The problem that I have, that I struggle against, is acting like a thing that I claim to know is definite. No, none of this stuff is definite. And anybody who presents an idea with certainty, which is unfortunately the trait shared by most religions, that is a person who has an overinflated view of their own intellect.
All right. Any other questions?
No, that's all. Just pick up that book. You're going to love it, man.
Okay. All right.
It's going a long way.
You have a great day.
Bye.
All right. I'm thinking this might be a good time to do your critical thinking.
Sure, we can do that.
All right. So I've definitely enjoyed that.
Tools of critical thinking. Last week we talked about, what camera am I on? We talked about extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And to recap, a claim which, if true, would overturn an idea that appears to be highly reliable after numerous scientific tests is an extraordinary claim, while one which, if true, fits well within the bounds of current scientific knowledge is an ordinary one. The more extraordinary a claim is, the more thorough and conclusive the evidence must be in order for that claim to stand up against the weight of our current knowledge. This week's critical thinking tip, materialism in science. Those who find the conclusions of materialistic science overly restrictive or ideologically repugnant often claim that materialism has prevented science from discovering the things they'd like it to discover. For example, Philip E. Johnson, a law professor turned creation science advocate, makes the following argument. Materialism is an unproven philosophical position. Modern science accepts materialism as an a priori assumption. Therefore, theistic realism, as he calls it, another unproven philosophical position, will work just as well in science as materialism does. Let's do a little science both ways and see how well Johnson's idea stacks up. Suppose we mix two chemicals together and the mixture turns green. We repeat the experiment 100 times, and the mixture turns green 99 out of those 100 times. If we assume that chemicals behave solely according to materialistic principles, we can pretty safely predict that the next time we mix those two chemicals, the mixture is going to turn green. There is a small degree of uncertainty, since in one instance the mixture didn't turn green, but we recognize that human beings performing tests can make mistakes. The chemicals could have been contaminated in that case, or the proportions could have been off, or something else might have gone wrong that we can't even guess. This leaves us room for improvement, but we can still reasonably rely on the statistical probability and predict that the next time the test is performed, the mixture will turn green. Now let's do the same experiment again, but this time we'll assume that there is a God, an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and invisible being who works in mysterious ways. We mix our chemicals 100 times, and 99 times out of 100 the mixture turns green. What can we conclude? The answer is nothing. We have no way of knowing whether God has tampered with the results. All we can do is sit and wonder whether the results of the experiment reflect the natural behavior of chemicals involved, possibly influenced by human error, or an unfathomable expression of God's will. If we want to draw a conclusion, we'll need to ask for an interpretation of God's will from his self-appointed representatives, the church. The materialistic assumption made in the first experiment, which opponents of materialism find so unfair, does not deny the existence of gods or magic. It simply refrains from attempting to account for unaccountable supernatural influences, and therefore avoids the trap which theistic realism falls into. The acknowledged degree of uncertainty in scientific results highlights another flaw in Johnson's proposal. Let's take his favorite topic, evolutionary theory. Nobody is arguing that evolutionary theory is 100% complete and 100% certain. But Johnson seizes upon that and says, here, have theistic realism. That way, you can claim certainty by saying, God did it, and your work will be done. Done? So then we can stop worrying why that one mixture in 100 didn't turn green. We can stop admitting that there is any uncertainty in our scientific conclusions because God did it answers all the open questions. That's awfully appealing. But suppose the reason why the one mixture that didn't turn green was because I accidentally put in too much chemical A. When evaluating their experiments from the point of view of materialism, scientists are merely refraining from claiming certainty when certainty isn't justified. Materialism forces scientists to speak from the perspective of what they can honestly say that they've discovered. Before we go trading it in for some other unprovable philosophical assumption, we ought to consider the consequences. Next week, we'll be talking about the limitations of personal testimony. And thank you very much for listening.
Jeff, would you define materialism?
Boy, technically?
Good point.
Well,
I haven't come prepared
I don't know if
for
everybody listening would exactly know what you're talking about there.
Go ahead and provide a definition.
No, I asked you for one.
Materialism is the philosophical assumption that what exists is what we see and what we can physically interact with, and that completely non-physical phenomena like telepathy and gods and angels and spirits and things like that do not exist. That's my understanding.
Okay, well, I wanted some clarification of that. Back in my youth, hippie days and all this in the 60s.
Materialism as one.
Materialism to most people. Materialism coming down from the pulpit was a bad thing. It was, building up earthly wealth instead of looking to the next empire. So,
well,
chances are we had some callers who might have thought you meant to be talking about something like that.
Thanks for asking that question. Of course, it is certainly true that if there is no heaven to build up your spiritual wealth in, why then your earthly wealth is the only wealth you're going to get. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the objective in life is to be greedy and get as much as you want. That might be a naive way of reacting to materialism.
And philosophically, materialism is a philosophy that you don't have a soul, that the material body is everything.
Right.
Referring back to that last caller again.
Yeah.
Well, we actually, the reason we have the computer on the desk here is we have the Bible on CD, so we could do searches and everything else. And
that's hiding from us. Huh?
And I never did find the one you were talking about, but I thought we tried hell. Let's see when hell is first mentioned in the Bible.
Okay, you're in the King James, and you hit it very early on in Genesis.
You think?
Well, in the Pentateuch somewhere.
I gotta move this down to just the one word. It was still. I was doing a search.
People seem to bring up hell a lot when they call in.
Yes. So.
And it's been a fairly recent realization to me, as I kept pointing out, that hell and salvation plan don't mix in the New Testament. They're in these completely different sets of books. You find hell thread in Matthew and Mark and James, but our salvation verses are all from John and Romans and Ephesians. There's this big chasm in between them.
Excellent.
So I've looked in that a bit more, and there was really no concept of hell at the time. When they used the words, there's a few other words they use that mean other things. And quite frankly, I'd as soon not have to bother with hell in the Old Testament. I'll accept my Jewish friend's word that there is no hell in their religion. If we move to the next oldest
no, actually,
translation.
The first occurrence is Deuteronomy.
Yeah, in the Pentateuch, in the King James.
Oh,
You've got 3 other Bibles on there. Why don't you pick one of the others and see where the first bit on hell is?
Good point.
Because what the King James translates as hell in the Old Testament is the Hebrew word Sheol. And I guess they had an easy out there. Sheol, well, it sounds like hell. Yeah, if English was a derivative of Hebrew, that could very well be the case. But English is a Germanic language and Hebrew is an Arabic language. Completely different heritages, so that's just a coincidence. Sheol is the grave. In Exodus, we have about 50 people or so giving Moses a bad time. They don't like wandering in the desert. They want him to take them back to Egypt. The ground opens up and swallows them, and they go directly to their Sheol, their grave. In Psalms, early in one of the Psalms, we read that they will return to their Sheol after they die, which I take as a similar expression as from dust to dust. So I accept my Jewish friend's word on it that there's no hell in the Old Testament. If you opened up the ASV or the NIV, I think those are the other 2 translations you have there.
Yeah, actually, I pulled out the Romanized version because I thought it was older, and it goes all the way to Acts.
It looks like some Romanized version of Greek.
So
you don't...
It goes all the way to Acts before it finds hell.
Well, but that's in another language. That's a Romanized version of Greek.
Okay. So you want the NIV?
Yeah, let's do the American Standard or the New International, whichever.
Let's go with the New International and start back at the beginning here at Genesis.
I think we won't find it till we hit Matthew, and then it'll be in a most interesting place.
Okay. Got my curiosity up now. And there, off it goes.
Yeah, it looks like we made it through... Yeah.
It went all the way through the Old Testament.
So you don't find hell in an English Bible other
Matthew
than the
5.
King James.
Chapter 5, verse 22.
Did you read that?
But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka, I have no idea what that means, R-A-C-A.
Yeah, occasionally they run into words they don't know how to translate.
Okay, is answerable to Sanhedrin.
The Sanhedrin, that was like a Jewish council.
Okay, but anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell.
I'm sorry, I could have just had you read the last sentence, huh?
Yes.
But anyone who says you fool will be in danger of hellfire. Remember our preacher caller last time I was on and how he started? He quoted a verse from the Psalms
Exactly.
that called us fools. He didn't have the courage to call us fools in his own language, and here's why. Our first hell hit is don't call people fools.
Or you all go, yeah, and we've had several callers call us.
So, yeah, I decided I'd refer to that as the CFCFC syndrome, the cowardly fashion of Christian fool calling. They don't dare do it themselves. They quote someone else instead.
Then the next one is on down. If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. That's the next occurrence of hell.
Yeah, the next one will be something similar. I think it'll be the same thing with your hand
Exactly.
instead of your eye.
That's the very next
Is that
verse.
implying that you bodily go to hell?
That's the impression I got. Your whole...
Let that be a warning to you all.
Thank you,
And
Arlo.
how many graves have we opened where the bodies are missing? Apparently a whole lot of people are just not going to hell.
Excellent point.
How many people are going to heaven?
We-
My brother says,
Well, those that have cut their hands off and plucked their eyes out, according to Matthew here.
Excellent point. Let's go the other direction. Let's go back. Let's go back.
But notice
gonna
all
find
these
heaven all
hell
over the place.
references have to do with behavior. If you act wrong, you go there. They don't have to do with accepting a religion as such. They don't have to do with belief. No,
Even in the
hell
New
and
Testament?
or in the New Testament. We didn't find it in the Old Testament
Right.
in this translation.
I was thinking trying to search for heaven, but you're, he was saying that
Oh.
was probably all over the place. Yeah, any other interesting tidbits you'd like to share with us there?
Oh, did we want to go work them all? There aren't that many, actually.
On heaven?
Hell.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Okay.
Because some of them get kind of interesting. While you do
Okay.
that, I'll tell you what the word really is, because there wasn't a word hell at the time, and there wasn't really a notion of hell as fundamentalist Christians tend to have it today as a place of eternal torment. What we see in a number of those hits is Gehenna. Those chop your hand off and pluck your eye out verses are actually Gehenna verses. Gehenna is a Greek attempt to say the Hebrew for the Valley of Hinnom. The Valley of Hinnom lies outside of Jerusalem a little ways, and it's where they used to sacrifice children to the god Moloch. When I was on the show last month, I recited Leviticus 18:21, which forbade them to sacrifice their children to Moloch, and I wondered at the time why they weren't forbidden from sacrificing their children to the god Jehovah as well. That never appears in there for some reason. And even at that, Leviticus 18:21 looks like an insert, something stuck in there at a later day, because that whole 18th chapter of Leviticus is sex limitations. A verse after verse of what relative you can't have sex with and other sexual limitations, and boom, right in the middle, oh, and by the way, don't sacrifice your children to this one other god. So Gehenna is not a place of eternal torment. It's a valley outside Jerusalem. What's the evil association with it? Well, little babies were burned up. And that doesn't sound very permanent. I mean, I've never taken that up as a practice. I don't even think I've talked to anyone who has, but I kind of got the feeling that once you burn a baby up, it's consumed and you can't burn the same baby again. So it's not really hell, but it's corruption of some sort. It's being forced to do evil things.
Okay. The next occurrence was, do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the ones who can destroy both soul and body in hell. I'm not quite sure who can destroy both body and soul, but I thought that was just an odd thing there.
Especially since we have no evidence of something called a soul.
Yes.
Or materialist.
And then, and we're still in Matthew. We haven't got out of Matthew.
He's got 7. Well, I'm not sure about the NIV. With the American Standard, there's 14 hits in the New Testament, and 7, exactly half, are in Matthew.
Oh, yeah?
And 3 of them are repeated from Mark. Mark is a prototype work that Matthew and Luke both expand on. So Matthew has all 3 of his, and they're the whack your hand off and pluck your eye out verses. When we get to them in Mark, they'll look awful interesting for another reason.
We have a caller with the name of Black Wolf.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Interesting
yes.
name.
Good morning, caller.
Hi.
Can you explain the name Black Wolf, please?
My nickname.
Okay, well, welcome to the show.
Have you guys Well, let me explain this to you real quick. A friend of mine was at a Target store years ago, and he encountered a very nasty fundamentalist Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You see, my friend and I are both pagan. And it was like my friend wouldn't yield, and the Christian guy got all nasty and stuff. I mean, he started convulsing, and from what he told me, it kind of looked like a rabid dog. So basically, what I'm asking is, have you guys, in your debates, encountered fundamentalist Christian who get hell bent out of shape and just go on, and it's like they're trying to convince you, and if you still haven't been converted by a certain point of time, they get nasty and abusive and all this other stuff.
Sounds like some of our callers in the past, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, and on another plane at the same Target store, the cashier who was listening to this conversation pulled his pentagram from his shirt.
Ooh.
And from what my friend said, I think the man turned, I guess, about 10 or 15 different shades of white.
So, yes, I've run into it all the time myself. How about you, Jeff?
Sure, occasionally.
And so yeah, it's not uncommon.
I can relate to that. Christians surrounded me in a Walmart once.
Oh, Walmart,
oh my goodness,
bad.
there's a discount store syndrome here. Isn't
Do you know that at Walmart, by the way, well, they'll give you a hard time if you don't pray with them before the store opens and when the store closes?
Ooh.
I've had several friends.
Interesting.
One a Wiccan and another guy who's I don't know what he is, and another friend who was also an atheist, and he quit after that.
Mm-mm. Well, I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
We are running out of time, so we want to get to the other callers. You have a great day. Call
Thank
again.
you.
All right, let's go to Joe.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, you too. I was wondering, there's a passage that you read.
Yeah.
About sacrificing babies to the god.
Well, actually, Earl, we had talked about that the last time Earl was on the show, and he was actually referring to it.
Yeah. Like sacrificing to another god. Is that what you're saying? I was thinking, do you think is possible that it could be a reference to abortion?
No.
I don't think so. Why do you think it would be?
Why not?
Well, because it says it's something else. They physically burn the babies to death as a sacrifice. If you watched this 4 months ago, or 4 weeks ago when I was on, I covered that in more detail. There is a sacrifice of a child to the god Jehovah, the god of the Christians and Jews. That's Jephthah's daughter. Jephthah sacrificed his daughter, and that's in, I believe it's the 8th chapter of Judges. I covered that in some detail. This part about them burning their children to worship the god Moloch is in 2 Kings, I believe it's chapter 10, verse 23. The good King Josiah put an end to the practice by doing something to corrupt the town in the valley, the town Topheth, I believe it's the name of it, and thus the whole valley of Hinnom, Gehenna, as the Greeks corrupted it to, was corrupted. The practice was stopped. It was definitely baby burning. In fact, I also pointed out that in the 4th commandment, you're instructed to sacrifice the firstborn of every womb, with an out given that you don't have to sacrifice the human child, you can give an offering instead, but that's only given after an out for the firstborn male baby ass. And that's in Exodus chapter 34.
Any other questions, caller?
No thanks.
All right. You have a great day. Let me get back to the word hell. I thought it was quite interesting. It doesn't come up again until 2 Peter, after you go through Matthew and Mark.
Wow. See, it's 23 times in the New Testament in the King James. That 14 that I cited was the American Standard Version. Here we have a somewhat newer version, and there's a lot fewer hits.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm surprised it wasn't in Mark because those...
Oh, it was. I'm sorry. It was the same thing.
The same thing.
You had said that, so that's the reason I skipped over that part.
Luke in the ASV has 2 references, but one's Gehenna and the other's Hades. The Hades reference is in the parable about Lazarus and the rich man. And it's kind of interesting, that parable. It's a prop in a story, for one thing, but it's Hades, and that's the other word that's used besides Gehenna. Gehenna is a valley outside of Jerusalem. Hades is the Greek notion of the afterlife, and it's the universal afterlife, and it's not necessarily bad. It's like dull and dreary, but unavoidable. There is, however, a bad part of Hades called Tartarus, where bad angels go, or bad gods go. The god of the underworld, the god of Hades, is named Hades, or Pluto. It's named, his realm is named after him, that's why it's called Hades as well. And when he lets the bad gods out of Tartarus, some of them rewarded him with that little cap that he wears in all the statues of Pluto. And 2 Peter steals that outright. I don't know if we'll hit that on hell or if we'll have to look for Tartarus. But he has fallen angels go there. So it's like they ripped off the Greek mythology completely
the Titans
for that.
in the Greek mythology, wasn't it? The Titans that were in Tartarus.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the generation of the gods before Zeus and Hera and the ones
deposed.
we're most familiar with. They throw the previous generation down in there after a big war.
But you're right, that's the verse they're talking about, where he sends the angels to hell.
I would have liked it if we'd hit on that in Lazarus, though, because it takes a double hit. It takes a hit at the Greeks. It's our afterlife is better than your afterlife, is what it amounts to there. But the rich man is a Jew. He wants to send Lazarus back to warn his brothers so he doesn't end up like it. Apparently, he's a dumb Jew because he doesn't realize that this beggar is in heaven and he's only in Hades. He thinks he's still an errand boy, you know? But the answer to him is, your brothers are covered by the old plan. They're covered by the law. So, you know, it's a double whammy. It blasts the Greek notion of the afterlife and also picks on the Jews for not having one.
All right, with the last few minutes here, we'll try to zip through some callers here. Let's go to Mike.
Hey.
Oh, hang on, please. Just a second. I accidentally hit two buttons. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Hey, I was just wanting to talk about religion in schools and how it's forced onto me for my atheist beliefs for me to feel bad about them.
What school are you talking about?
I'm talking about Bastrop.
Oh, yeah.
What grade are you in?
It's just the way, I'm not accepted because of my beliefs, and religion is supposed to be separate from school.
Is this just other students you have a problem with, or is it the faculty and
it's both.
Really?
Yeah, because teachers and they're always talking about the Bible and everything, and they're supposed to be.
You know, the American Civil Liberties Union would just love to know about teachers talking about the Bible in class.
Isn't that a private school, though?
No.
Oh,
it's public.
Okay.
Yeah, as long,
What grade?
if it's a public school, ACLU would probably help you out with that.
What grade are you in?
Do it?
What grade?
I'm in the 9th grade.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I
was just wondering, because I want 2 beans.
You what?
2 beans from Senor Valdez.
What is that?
Are you trying to make a joke?
No, he said from one school to another school.
I thought you said something about coffee beans or something. Are you trying to make a joke?
No.
Then what?
We don't understand. Explain.
St. Valdez.
You're
High
saying
school.
one school is Bain and one is Valdez?
Right.
Oh, these are other schools that are also doing the same thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Take notes, prick, because y'all going to burn.
Okay, now.
Y'all.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right, let's go to Howard. Good morning, Howard.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Okay, I just want to say that I looked.
I recognize your voice. Thanks for calling.
Just want to say I looked in the Bible here, and when you go to hell, you have to go. It says go to dead.
Go to dead?
Yeah, and then you go to dead, and then it gives you a rundown. It gives you hell as a Gehenna. I think that's Matthew 5:22.
That's one we were just looking at.
All right.
Go to dead. Go directly to dead.
And Gehenna is a valley outside of Jerusalem.
Right, and then you got hell, and then you got Hades.
Which is the Greek afterlife for
Okay,
everybody.
which is Luke 16:23.
Yeah, that would be the parable, Lazarus and the rich man.
And then you've got Tartarus, I guess that's how you say it.
And that's that little subsection of Hades where deposed gods are stored temporarily.
Yeah. Is that Paul or Peter?
That's Peter, 2 Peter, which
Yeah,
isn't
2
really
on 4.
Peter, it's a forgery. But
Yeah,
I'll
that's,
get into that
chapter
next time I'm
2.
on.
Chapter
Yeah.
2 on 4. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just letting you know where it was at. I don't know if you already said it or not.
Yes.
You know, maybe we should have been reading the citations when we worked down
Yeah,
the
sorry about
computer
Usually,
screen
if I
there.
ever want to find anything here to, investigate it, if you go to either the index or the dictionary,
Mm-hmm.
Which
You
I have.
usually
I
find
also have that on
everything
the CD too, and I should have done that. I'm sorry, but there is a dictionary included in the CD.
yeah, it's just give you some idea how to look at this nasty book, but that's all right, I guess.
All right, I appreciate you.
I'll see you down there.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yes.
for calling.
Yes, we're heading down to the Hot Jumble Bakery when we leave here, and might even continue the discussion down there further. I don't know. Never can tell what we'll be discussing once we get down there. But we are running out of time. Let's go to Jim.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a quick comment, and I'll hang up and let you guys try and comment on it. I know you're running out of time. As someone who respects the rights of people to believe whatever they want to believe, as long as they're not extremists about it and don't try to cram it down anyone's throat, I think the problem most people have with the atheists and the atheist movement is that, first of all, the most public figure in atheism was probably clearly an amoral person. And I don't think that the atheist movement as a whole provides any sort of moral alternative. And for those people who are not putting the movement down strictly because of, they are extremists or they hold on to their beliefs and they're intolerant of other people's views, I think it's people in churches and synagogues and whatnot who are out there helping to feed the hungry, doing Habitat for Humanity. And I'm just curious as to, what the atheist movement provides as an alternative to a moral center. I happen for a moral center, I happen to believe that regardless of what your beliefs are, we need to treat each other as human beings well. And I'd like to know how the atheists stand on that and your comments on this question. So I'll hang up and let you answer.
Thank you. And Earl?
Okay, my moral center is something that the Confucianists refer to as the principle of universal love, and something the libertarians refer to as enlightened self-interest, and the form you're probably familiar with it as do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yes. And,
that great universal human truth.
Yeah,
That's
which
it.
Christianity did not invent.
Right. Yes. All right, we'll try one last caller. John?
Hello, yes, I was going to call and talk about what it says in Proverbs 2:6.
Yes?
It says, for the Lord giveth wisdom, and from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Y'all need to start paying attention to that.
In the New Testament, it says he has a breath that kills, and in a number of places, it says he's going to give out false information and deceive. Funny you don't pay attention to that.
I think he hung up.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, I heard a click. What do you respond to that?
You're going to burn in hell.
All right. We do appreciate all the callers. This show is brought to you by Atheist Community of Austin. We are proud to be here in Austin and be proud to be an atheist. We love everyone in Austin, even the ones that are telling us we're going to hell. We do love you.
So Hades hell, or Gehenna hell, or Tartarus hell, or Sheol hell? Gee, hell is so confusing.
We are heading down to the Hot Jumble Bakery when we leave here.
What about next week? Are we doing that next week?
Oh, and next week is our lecture series at North Cross Mall. We'll have Paul Wilson, and he very entertaining, intelligent gentleman, and he's been on this show before. And that's such an odd view of me right in her crotch there.
Oh no, you got wet. You're shrinking. You're shrinking.
And we go off the air with that.
Yeah, with me in the crotch of the